I'm Spence Graham with Real Digital Media, a Stratacache company, and you're listening and watching the AV Life.
I'm Renee Benson with NEC Display. It's at NEC Display Renee, and you are listening and watching the AV Life.
This is Kim Frank from GeoPack. You are watching and listening to the AV Life.
This is Corey Moss at CB Moss. Love you, Kim. You are listening to and watching this podcast that I created, which is a great one, folks. The AV Life. Take it,
Hi,
Tim.
This is Tim Van Wert at T Van Wert from Rutgers University, the host of the AV Life, and you are watching and listening to it. All right. Well, here we are again. We've made it. We're getting going here. This is feeling really good. A lot of good things happened today with getting our podcast going again. We are now back live with iTunes and Spotify, and we've got more people coming in to have our podcast out there and to have hosting. So if you've found us on Twitter or if you found us anywhere, subscribe. Make sure you sign up and subscribe for us and give a listen. Apparently I'm a little tongue tied today. That's okay. Corey, how are you doing, sir?
Keep going. You're doing great.
I'm doing great. Okay, good. Let me first, before I'm going to introduce our guests, we're going to do things a little bit differently than right at the beginning, and then we're going to get back into our normal swing of things. So let me introduce our guests first. We have from the I guess you could say definitely famous AV in the AM, Mr. Chris Netto. How are you, sir? How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? Hope everybody's doing fabulous on this. What is it? Thursday night.
We are at Thursday night. Yes, there's Islander hockey, as you've enlightened us to. There's also football. The battle for Ohio, where it's Cincinnati and Cleveland. I'm a Steelers fan, so
Steelers.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad you could join us today, Chris, and bringing your wisdom and expertise to us.
I left the wisdom and expertise at home. This is after hours, so.
This is after hours? Okay. Oh, geez. All right. All bets are off. All right. And then another famous podcaster is with us tonight, and also a long, we apparently have a history moment time now. Mark Coxon, how are you doing, Mark?
You said famous podcaster. I thought you were going to say Joe Way. Yeah, I feel like the prodigal son. I'm wandering back into my father's house after being gone for 7 years. So it's nice. Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here.
Mark and Corey have history going back many years, and this is I guess you could say the offspring of your work many years ago. So
the bastard child.
No, that was the road. That was the
roadhouse. That worked out well in Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all about perspective and how it all ends up in the end. So we've come a long way, and we're glad you're with us tonight, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And last but certainly not least, Lee Louie. How are you, Lee?
I'm doing great.
And Lee joins us as part of AV in the AM, as well as Base Gear Magazine. Those are the two, I guess, you're representing for us tonight.
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Corey for a few minutes. Oh, sorry. You know what? I almost left out. We started talking about famous podcasters, and I completely left out Joe Way. I am sorry, Joe.
Thrown to the curb already.
You know what? Joe Way.
He didn't leave
that was
you
on
out.
purpose.
Here comes 3, 2, 1.
Well, so I'm Joe Way with Higher Ed AV Podcast, also University of Southern California. You can also find me with as co-founder of the HETMA, Higher Education Technologies and Managers Alliance. And of course, if I haven't said it already, buy my book.
Well, there you go. You got all your plugs in. Well, I'm sorry, Joe. And we are being more aligned now as far as the podcast is concerned with what Joe is doing, and we're creating a bigger family for us here at the AV Life. So this is
exciting. It's exciting, the things that are coming.
there's a lot of exciting things coming.
Teasing still.
Yeah.
Though you have to go subscribe. So
I think we need a new name for Joe, because just like the Ohio State University, this needs to be the Joe Way.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. The Joe Way. Yeah, I think that we could do that. So we'll have to make it official at some point. All right. So now I will turn it over to Corey for a few minutes of his airtime. Well, it's always his airtime, so he's more than welcome to always give time. So Corey, take it away, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Much appreciated there. I'll try to take a couple minutes or less here. I just want to say thank you to people and tell you how proud I am of you, Tim, for taking over the hosting job of the podcast. And I couldn't have picked a better person to do it, my friend. Thank you.
Well, Corey, you've been a fabulous mentor for me, and you took me in. Like I'm one of those guys that I thought I was coming in for fun. When I first came in, I was asked to be on the show, and you've essentially raised me in this podcast world. Since we're talking about family and we're talking about offspring, I am your offspring. You created
One of us.
So, but Corey, your leadership is beyond compare for where you've done some phenomenal things, and it's been a huge impact on what we do with you going through your recovery and becoming the strong guy you always have been. So, it's been a big loss for us in this time. So we're very grateful to be able to be back here and to have you a part of it.
Thank you, Tim. Just a few more things here. Thank yous. There was a thank you note letter that I wrote basically on Convergent AV, put it out to all the AVTweeps and more who contributed. And Kim, Frank, I love you. Thank you so much for the GoFundMe. And thank you to all of those who did donate. And it was very important. It was needed finances. So thank you all for that. Also, thank yous to Zoom, Sure, and other sponsors of the past. And Joe Way, who's always been there for me. Thank you, Joe.
Always, sir. Always.
And thank you to Mark Coxon. He's on the podcast. I'm so happy about that. So, Tim, I like how you talked about how this became the offspring of a podcast that Mark and I did a long time ago. Like I said, it's been 7 years. Mark and I have a big surprise planned for International Podcast Day to talk about that podcast. So we're going to giddy up on International Podcast Day. We're looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to this show. Really, really good stuff planned here with our guests. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Corey. There are no words for, like I said, your leadership, for your friendship, and we are AV family, that's how we are. Even for those of us that are, if it's part of just being part of, Joe Way's tweet storm, or just having a Twitter feud over one thing or
technically Kaleo's tweet storm that I got.
Kaleo's tweet, but somehow Joe is the one that keeps.
I got it. I'm just the one that keeps the fire going.
Well, we do thank you for that, at least, because it does bring that welcome entertainment. It seems like it's always at the right time. So, all right. So we're gonna kind of move on for the rest of our conversation for today, so we're gonna start off with, I guess, some of the bigger news right now is that they've canceled ISC for this upcoming year. Now, I don't blame them for it. I think, sorry, Jeff?
Technically moved it.
Oh, they moved it. Sorry.
June 1 to 4. Is that right? Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, so all right, so they've moved it. Sorry, I missed the date, so my news is a little old. So, um, so I mean, is anyone surprised by this, or is this do we all feel like this is kind of where the right direction for them? Is that too soon? Joe,
Too soon to what? Too soon to call it? No, it's not too soon to call it because people have to plan so far in advance, right? So, and especially for smaller manufacturers, if they have to put up a bunch of money and hold a booth, that ties up money they could be paying their employees with, especially if things are slow. So I think it's the right call. If they're going to pull it as early as they can. Do I think they should have moved it to 2 weeks before InfoComm? Probably not. But that's a different story, right?
Right. Or should they have gone further out, or just not have done it at all until next year, just because, I mean, are we going to be ready medically? Are we going to be ready to do that?
I'm thinking what's going to happen is Avixa is going to sell it as if you're in Europe, take the local trip to ISE. If you're in North America, take the local trip to InfoComm. Let's get back halfway this year so that we can at least see each other. You can see your locals, and in 2021, or 2022, we'll all get to see each other again going international. I have a feeling that's the way they'll spin it. And I think that could work. I think travel is going to be easier within a local geographic area than it is, going international. So even international over there is like going between states over here, right? So I think it'll be a good move. I think they need to get a show on the books in 2021 for North America and for Europe. I think we need to get back together. I'm aching for it, so I hope they don't move it completely to 2022.
Yeah, I agree with that. Chris, are you in the same mindset there? Or?
Nope. Definitely not the same mindset. And maybe it's because I'm in New Jersey and I have a myopic view, as I was told this week, and that I'm Debbie Downer to an extent, because I'm in a state that is currently pretty much locked in, and we're not doing as much as other states are. Apparently down south, it's a little bit more open. God knows out in California, you can do a lot more than you can in New Jersey. So my take is a little different, and it goes down to two things. I have family that lives in Portugal. Currently, Spain is shut down. They can't come into Portugal, and Portuguese people cannot go to Spain. The wall is up, and it's you stay on your side. Don't come in here until you get your house in order. Is pretty much the conversations that I'm getting from family that's there. And then we have Florida, where InfoComm is taking place. In Florida, Florida's Florida. Bugs Bunny tried to cut it off many years ago, and we can continue to think that someday Florida will become an island, not just a peninsula. So Florida has its own problems, and then we're dealing with Spain, which is the Florida of Europe at this point. Can't control themselves as well. So you got these two kind of bad reputation places going on. It's going to be a very tough struggle internally for both to deal with. Obviously, when you start talking about ISE and the Americans that are going to go to ISE, it becomes a little difficult if we're on the do not enter list. And you're right, it is easier to travel from state to state in Europe, but if one country shuts down, nobody's getting through that country. So trains that may go through France if France shuts down, then nobody from England is getting there on train. If they want to go on planes, now you're going to hear the stories of how difficult it is to find flights into Barcelona from them. There's a lot of moving pieces. I honestly, if I were a betting man, I would say that don't bet the house on it. June is going to be kind of crazy. I kind of feel that it's going to be another move, another shuffle out. But just because Spain may be okay doesn't necessarily mean that Florida will be okay. One of the two, I'm not dead set on June 1st through the 4th happening. Those first 2 weeks in June is going to be a gamble. I'm willing to see where we're at with that. And there I said it. I wish everybody a good show. If we can pull it off, I would love to be able to go to an InfoComm. And God knows I'm dying from not physically seeing good technology in front of me, or at least people trying to tell me that it's new technology and not vaporware. I even miss vaporware at this point. Please, somebody get me something in front of me or give me promise that there's something coming that's good. But, you know, for the sake of the business, for the sake of the industry, we need a trade show. We need the technology. Having technology shown to us virtually or via PDF on an email blast is not what we can consider solid working ground. Yes, it's great. But, you know, on paper, it's one thing, and we all have been in this business long enough to know paper's paper. Materials show us what the goods are, show us in working order. Right now we can't even say that something is smoke and mirrors because it all just prints out on a PDF. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm sorry that I'm the downer, but you know, hit me up in a couple months, maybe we can re-talk that. But that's just my 2 cents.
So I think we should start based on this show. It's hashtag damn you Chris Netto, dashing all our hopes and dreams.
Yeah, because that was my intention. I figured I'd come in here and I'd bring a big old needle and pop everybody's balloon. Listen, man, if there's anybody who, you know, wants to be at a trade show more than anybody, it's going to be me. I live off that stuff, right? I don't make a living off of it, but that's where I excel. I perform better on a trade show floor than I do sitting at my house. I need to kind of get in front of the technology and network with people. And there's only so much you can do online. And I agree. And it's been a great experience, and I've upped my game as much as possible doing it. And so have others. But we need 40,000 people in one place, all being nerds, right? And we need a place to go afterwards and be even bigger nerds at a bar that have you know, video games, or a, you know, or in our case last time in Orlando, a Toronto Raptor you know, game where all of a sudden everybody was Canadian and everybody was rooting for Toronto. I need to see that. So that's it. I've taken up too much time.
No, Chris,
Thank you, Chris.
I will
feel better. I'm in agreement 100%. There's like so many factors that we lost the conference. Our conference was supposed to be in April. We had to cancel it. We decided to not reschedule for a number of reasons, like not just is it safe, logistically, are people going to get sick? Is it going to become a press event because we cause infections? But then also just keeping in mind the finances of the people who would have been exhibitors or attendees. Like, can anybody afford to support the costs associated with it?
And the further it goes, Kim, the crazier it's going to get. So let's pull, you know, the 800-pound gorilla out of the back here and more to the front. You know, as time drags on, you're watching more people on LinkedIn, you know, changing jobs or losing their jobs. Mark obviously is on the forefront of this as he sees that with this AV job match site. You know, every day somebody new is posting up there. People are losing their livelihoods, and you have an entire industry with the live event space that is completely decimated at this point. That is with at least 2 years out from coming back, and that's being gentle with estimates, right? And I'm not just talking about a live event in the concert business. We're talking about trade shows. We're talking about, you know, open public spaces that do events, the Cirque du Soleils and all, you know, these are all part of AV. We kind of lose sight of that in the bigger picture, depending on what vertical you're attached to. But it's really, really tough right now for people to stomach, not just expenses, you know, but, you know, the future of that when some of these people are riding on the edge with no work. It's definitely some challenging times right now, and my heart goes out to a lot of the people that are currently fighting for this. I see what they've done in the UK with the red alert and turning on red, and the US companies have followed that as well, turning on the red light to show, you know, solidarity and support for the live events industry, that without them nothing happens. I've seen what happened, what they did in Times Square recently with the flight cases and the entire crews out there standing behind their flight cases. It's heartbreaking to see because those are our brethren, but at the same time, you know, we got to do our best to kind of rally the troops and get everybody together. And I'm hoping that these trade shows do kind of slowly start coming back. And we need it. We need a VIXA show. We need ISE's show. And I'm friends with the people that put on those shows, and I want them to have a great show. It's just very tough because of everything else, even like within our industry. We are a product of intersecting things. right? So what I mean by that is our trade shows and our conferences cannot happen if the hospitality industry is not together, if travel is still not safe. For every press release that United Airlines is saying that they don't care, we're not going to give you that middle seat open anymore, there's more people that are going to say no, right? And unfortunately, Southwest does not fly to every place that we can get to. So I'm
Well,
sorry.
I was going to
Don't
say
ask me another question, Tim. This is what happens. Alpha personality that all of a sudden just comes out. I'm waiting for Joe to start talking.
No, that's okay. But you know what, Chris, as a fellow Jerseyan, I get it. Like, and I concede my time to you for that, because you basically said everything I was going to say, because it's just a different world that we're in here in New Jersey.
Well,
we're the most densely populated state in the nation. Like, we're dealing with a lot. Like, we're still at a transmission rate above 1, like, which is not, it's not bad. It's not great either. So, and there's a lot.
I miss restaurants, Tim. I miss my pad thai being hot when I get it, not when I bring it home and it turns into pad cake.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I don't want that anymore. I want food that's served hot in front of me and I can eat it right then and there. I don't want takeout. I want to sit in a place and enjoy sushi that's cut in front of me, and I can have it and watch the guy cut the thing in front of me. That's the kind of, well, it doesn't stop me from having pizza, but that's
exactly. Spence, I'm sorry, you were trying to chime in with something.
I was just going to say, I'm currently chairman of the Digital Signage Federation. It's killing us. We've got 400 industry members and end users and vendors and manufacturers and the whole gamut. And I agree 100% with Chris. I am sick to see some not only dear friends that have built businesses for decades go out of business. And I mean, it's dreadful. Absolutely dreadful to have those conversations with old friends.
It's not just, oh my God, we're going out of business. It's shut the lights off, go home,
Absolutely. And the thing is, we can't get to our clients because we can't travel, especially those of us that are in the higher education vertical. I mean, even if we could travel, those universities are saying, no, don't come here. We number one, we don't have anybody in the places you need to see. And number two is we don't want your cooties. So, I mean, it's just absolutely dreadful. And I'm not convinced that the bleeding is over. And that's the sad thing, because do we know if it's going to be 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? I don't know. All I know is it is posing, as we are now, 6-8 months into this, it's an existential threat to many of us.
I'm going to say something, and I'm not being insensitive to it. And I think there's a lot of, I know there are a lot of people that are highly affected, like you said, Spence, especially digital signage, public space, live events. 6 months in to something that doesn't seem to have a timeline on it, like, I would just encourage people to start looking at what your transferable skills are. I know you built a living in this industry and all those things, but like 6 months in, there has to be at least a plan B for 3-6 months, right? Like, we have to start looking at how can we help our people, and maybe that's leveraging people that we know, like Joe, who know people in house of worship or know people in universities who are all of a sudden need help streaming or need help doing some higher level production to put their events online so that their parishioners have something good. Maybe somebody like that, maybe a diocese of Orange here in California could use a good video guy to get everybody set up, get all the dioceses set up so their parishioners have really good feeds for every Sunday, all those type of things. I mean, we have to start thinking outside the box of, like, what are the skills that these people have? They're highly skilled people. Most of the time, they're very, very personable because they work in an events industry around lots of people. They're willing to travel. They're willing to work weekends. They're willing to work nights and long hours. They're used to that. So, we have this really resilient group of people that are highly skilled. Like, how do we help them find other people that are trying to connect the dots? A lot of corporations are trying to connect the dots on how they make their meetings look good. We had a virtual event today. Thank goodness we had some in-house tech because we have a tech team. But for companies like us that don't have a tech team, you know, if they're trying to put on their national sales meeting or something like that, you know, they could really use these companies. So, you know, for me, I'm always thinking, you know, yeah, you know, it'd be nice if everything just came back and these 20,000 people could go back to work. But in the meantime, you know, how do we help them put food on their table? So how do we as an industry help connect the dots to maybe corporations, churches, universities that might need some of these skill sets in-house while they're growing and the other industries are shrinking? I mean, don't you think there's an opportunity there in a way?
Yeah, I think so. Hey, Renee, I mean, you got anything to? I feel like you've been sitting there quietly contemplating everything that's been going on because, yeah.
Well, it's so different for me because life is so different where I'm at compared to where most of you guys are at. So, I mean, I'm going to a 250 person event tomorrow, and that would probably scare the hell out of New Jersey people. But
Is it
we're going to
outside?
be part of it will be outside. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just is what it is. We're not as affected by it, I guess. I don't know if, I mean, our kids are in school.
Renee, can I give you an example of how it is right now? My cousin is throwing a sweet 16 party for her daughter. It's been pushed back a few times now due to COVID. In order for her to have a party inside, she had to rent a hall that holds 400 people so she can invite 75.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we do still have some of those restrictions in place too, but
but you can imagine, well, first of all, fortunately, a 400 person venue is available, I guess, fairly easily now, but cavernous, right? That is a monster facility to hold between 75 to 95 people. And I, unfortunately, won't be able to attend, and that's where that's where the mystery lies, right? I can't attend because I'm considered high risk. So let's get the cat out of the bag there. Anybody who has diabetes, like myself, cannot attend these things because that is considered high risk. How many people suffer from type 2 diabetes? I'm not even going into the type 1s, right? So I have type 2. It's manageable, it's controllable, but I am at high risk because of that. There's other little things, every little detail. And that's the other part to it, is you can't get upset by somebody saying, no, I can't attend.
correct.
Right? Because you don't know. And obviously, we as AV professionals who work in the medical space, for example, you start going into conversations, and Joe can attest to this once you start getting into education and stuff, with privacy and concerns. Are you now going to question why the head of this company can't be there? Dude, you may be, be heading into waters that you don't want to get into. Right? Yep. Now, I've openly stated that, and I've openly put that out there. But there's a lot of people that it's a very private thing for people to not be able to attend or do certain things. So that's the X factor that you have to think about moving, when you're planning these events and doing these things. If you want to do small regional, like a lot of people have been talking about, that sounds great. Of the small regional, were you expecting 100 people? Because of those 100 people, the X factor of who can attend and who can't attend because of their, whatever conditions or medical conditions that they have.
Right.
You got to be, you got to be empathetic to that. It's a very strange time that we're in, because it plays against some HR rules as well. When it comes to technicians that may not feel comfortable getting on an elevator in a big city, and going into a confined space. How do you, who has the upper hand? Is it the technician who says, listen, my health's compromised, I can't go there? Or is it the company? It's like, you got to go because you're the only, that's why we hired you. And that you're the only guy in Manhattan, for example.
Right.
There's a lot of colliding pieces in this, and it's not going to be this little round table who are going to figure it out. Our job is to actually provide the video and to do what we can with technology to make those situations happen.
Right.
And give them that best experience. I know with your company, that is, your company is based as an experiential, I can't even talk. Experiential company. You're dealing with displays. You're dealing with displays. You're dealing with monitors. You're dealing with that kind of stuff. That's a very important cog in the piece. But you need people in front of those displays to see the display. So it's a challenge for a lot of people going on right now.
Yeah.
So are there, the question is, are there going to be parameters that are set up with, okay, before we do this event at this venue, we're going to have temperature scanning, but we also need to know what part of the country did you come from?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there going to be some sort of parameters set up that way?
Until we are all on the same page, I think that's going to continue. Like, by the way, the third New Jersey person here.
Yeah.
And I cut my own hair with a pair of desk scissors. Like, the way we are living here
I do
right
that all
now.
the time. There's nothing wrong with that. Joe does too. It's great.
I do too.
I'm doing my own nails. Like, I have my eyebrows. If you could see them, they are a jungle. It is really bad here. Like, and I think we feel like we've sacrificed a lot for a really long time, and we've kept stuff down, and we can't control all of the other states that are surrounding us, and no one wants to behave the way we feel like we've behaved. So there's so now, like, if my staff wants to go into our office in New York City, they have to fill out this 8-question survey, and it basically says, have you been in any of the following states? And it's all states except for New Jersey and New York. And if they've been out of state, they cannot go into the building.
Right.
Yep.
So until we're all on the same page as a country, there is going to be this situation where, okay, great, you can have a conference in Vegas, but only people from the following states can go.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's a whole big conversation in and of itself. Lee, what's been your experience out on the West Coast, since you're also from California, along with the other half of the group?
Yep. Pretty
West
much.
Side.
I'm always
Joe
alone.
and I already did that. So
not as bad in California. I mean, not anything like what Chris is mentioning. Not at all. Well, you see a lot of people out without their masks, and that's really not a smart thing to do. But I'm in favor of having a trade show. I'm on Chris's side. My favorite show, my show that was canceled. It wasn't postponed. It's canceled, and that's not till January. So I'm pretty bummed.
Yeah, that was a big one. I think one of the things, listening to Chris and Renee and everybody, our company, we had to come up with some workplace strategy. We have contact tracing and all that kind of stuff when people come in, and we know who was in the office on what days and who interfaced with who and all those things. But one of the biggest things that kind of came out of us going through this as a company was somebody got really upset that everybody kept using the phrase, we're all in the same boat. And the fact is that we're not all in the same boat. And that's what they said. We're not all in the same boat. We're in the same storm. Some of us are in large boats. Some of us are in small boats. Some of us are way off course. Some of us are somewhere else. So we do have to be very conscious of that. And I think when we say there's one set of rules that's going to fix everything, then we really start to get in trouble, right? Because there won't be one set of rules that fixes it all, fortunately. So it's it's interesting thing,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, am I the only one that sees certain dichotomies as ironic? I mean, number one, what we can do as a society, no questions asked. We can go to political rallies in the tens of thousands. Okay. We can protest by the hundreds of thousands. And we can go to live concerts when they're starting back up here. We just starting to go back to football games. I moonlight on the weekends for WVU football in my previous life there. We piped in the crowd noise. We had about 200 parents in the stadium, and that was about it, which was surreal in itself. But here's what we can't do, and this is where it bothers me. We can't do a trade show. Okay, we can't go to church. We can't be in the choir and sing. We can't go to choir practice. Can't go to club meetings. We can't go to lodge meetings. We can't do any of that. But we can, depends on what group you're with, you can sit there and congregate by the tens of thousands, but yet we have to stay home, and we've got to our jobs are on the line every day. I just think there's a real irony here.
Yeah.
I saw this. Where's the tap out button? Because I'm out of that.
I'm out of that. So I saw this. I saw this great little infographic online the other day. It was about like restaurants, because here we have restaurants open with indoor dining as long as it's less than 25% occupancy, right? So you can up to 25% inside, and you can have outside dining. And of course, as you walk through the restaurant, you have to have your mask on, but once you sit down, you can take it off to eat and drink and do all those things. And so there was this like a person sitting and a person standing, and it was like virus, and then like the person below was like below it. So like in danger, safe. Like if you just lower your level about 2 feet, you're right in the right spot. I see that too, Spence. Honestly, I think everybody sees that. I mean, I think the big thing is, and I don't know if we want to stay the whole show on this topic, but I think the biggest thing is that, I mean, if anything has been shown to spread it more than anything, it's sustained indoor contact, right? So sustained contact, an hour or you increase your chances really, really, really bad if you're close to somebody, close proximity for over an hour inside. So I think the more that we can leverage nature, the more that we can do things outside, the more that we can, when we're in close proximity to each other, just be smart and
Speak for
protect
yourself,
ourselves.
dude. You got four seasons of summer.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Weather
Again,
it went from
different boat,
90
same
and
storm.
humid to 50 degrees the other
Different
day here
boat.
in Jersey. These bars and restaurants are going to be struggling again, and everybody's going to go back. We are going to be preparing to hibernate, essentially, what most people do in the wintertime, right? We're going to be back in our houses. And like Spence said, there is some very weird ironies going on. Having a 17-year-old who, well, now he's 18-year-old, graduate high school this year. He could not have a graduation ceremony, but I could go stand at Home Depot for 2 hours to go inside.
Exactly. That's my point, Chris. That's my point.
So there are some weird things, without going so much into the political and the religious side, that don't match up as well. Standing outside like I did at Sam's Club or at Walmart waiting. And what I find the irony now is, now I can just walk into Walmart. I still want my cart clean, man. Please wipe the hands. I'm walking around trying to find wipes first of all, they don't sell, I don't know about you guys in the rest of the part of this country, but Lysol and Clorox wipes are gold. If you can find them in any place here in New Jersey, I will gladly drive to wherever that is and go buy it, because we can't find that.
That's me too.
Same, I can't find it either.
Here's an interesting fact for you guys, though, because I am a COVID survivor. 8 of us went on vacation. 3 of us got it. The 3 of us that got it still came home to our husbands because it was a girl trip. None of the husbands got it.
Weird.
And my husband never left the bed we sleep in. So we still were in the same house, and he never got it. So there's all sorts of, there's people that were together for a shorter period of time that got it. So it's still so mind-boggling to me what it does for one person, but it doesn't do for the other. And I'm not talking about the underlying health conditions, but it's like there is no real set of answers or regulations for this virus. But I do agree with, we can go sit at Home Depot, but you can't go to a graduation ceremony. We had a graduation ceremony at an outdoor stadium, and a few people tested positive. They blamed it on the graduation ceremony. And it's like,
and I'll tell you right now, this past weekend, first football game at WVU did play. However, on Friday night, they canceled all high school football games because Monongalia County, where we are, because a bunch of kids at WVU went out and partied and went to a bar, and we went to the Red. So they canceled all the high school games pretty much in the state, but WVU got to play.
Damn college kids.
I mean, and the parents showed up at the WVU game to protest with the kids. I mean, it's strange times, folks. Strange times.
Our school district sued the county because they were only allowing 100 people in. So they sued the county to try to up that number, which they lost, by the way. But it's just crazy. It's like, why is our district not spending that money on the teachers or the technology? No, we're spending it in a courtroom. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I think we just ban higher ed, right, Joe Way? We just ban the colleges. These
you
guys,
know what?
They're out of control.
Let me stay on vacation until this whole thing is over. I'll just stay away. I'll stay at home. I'll keep coming on the podcast. Let me know when it's over, and then we'll go back to work.
Yeah, my wine club is still shipping me the buckets of wine. So,
But you know what? But going back to it though, and going back to like live events, and I think I'm on the, if you can do it safely, then let's figure out how to do it. I mean, we're seeing here in LA, we're starting to get some outdoor concerts back. I don't know if we're going to get any festival type stuff. Probably not in the traditional sense, but at least in some smaller ways we are, especially when they opened up indoor dining. I think that, and especially here in LA, where we have seen this industry decimated. I mean, most of our economy is based on services, and especially the entertainment industry and what kind of comes from that and how many things that touches. If you just think about, going to a show, but then you go to dinner beforehand, how many in this economy get impacted by that? So I'm for doing it if you can continue to have, I'm okay with the 25% occupancy. I'm okay if you have to rent a 400, seat room to host a party for 70 people. If you could start spreading those out, because maybe that's what we need to do to start feeling a little bit of semblance of our life back. And then we can learn how to live in that. We can learn how to do the things that we used to do, not paying attention to safety. We didn't care if everyone was piling at the bar, trying to figure out who's getting the next drink and get the bartender's attention. Maybe if we do start doing those things, we can learn how to live with this while we're working out the vaccine, all these things, okay, all other issues. And now slowly come back, and maybe we can keep some of these good habits going even after we can kind of get back to quote unquote normal.
I want to elect Joe Way to go to the airlines and ban the middle seat. That's the first thing. And while you're at it, we need you in New Jersey. The New Jersey Transit trains need to change their seats from hard plastic benches to socially distanced seats. So while we're at it, please come. And you're wanted on both coasts now. So
you know what? I would love to go to New Jersey and do that, except for one thing. I'd be in Jersey. Yep, exactly.
Hey, but we're on the okay list right now, so you can come here. But you have to quarantine for 2 weeks before you talk to anybody.
That's a lot of pizza and a lot of bagels, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, somebody's going to have a show. There's got to be that first show.
Yes.
It's just a matter of when are we going to get to that point? When are we all going to be on the same page? Because we're all so different, like Mark was saying. Mm-hmm. But at some point, there has to be a show.
I would be curious.
And it might be a show that is a flop because nobody shows and people spent the money. But at some point, we have to start getting ourselves out there, whether it be regional. I don't know. I don't know where.
I nominate the furry and fluffy convention for the first show because everybody wears masks.
I wonder what their insurance rates are.
In the aisles.
Dude, I had to go to a Comic-Con to find out what a brony was. I do not want to go any further to find out what a furry can be.
As a show sponsor.
You couldn't Google it first. You had to actually.
I did. I walked into a Comic-Con to find out about this with a buddy of mine. He's like, oh, this guy's going to get a lot of people signing. I'm like, why? He goes, because he draws My Little Pony. And wait till you see the crowd that comes for that. I'm like, what? My Little Pony? Yep. And sure enough.
That's Bill. He was
Kim,
pointing my daughter. He told my daughter, he's like, go to this convention because the guy who draws My Little Pony's there. He's there signing for all the bronies at the Comic-Con.
Very, very interesting crowd that you get with those people that are doing that sort of stuff.
Going back to this topic about about somebody needing to do that first trade show, we were going to be tagging along with Kim's group in Phoenix back in the spring. And we had to cancel that just like Kim did for obvious reasons here. I wonder going forward from an insurance standpoint, what these shows are going to have to pony up for insurance premiums because of liability issues. I mean, I wonder if that's going to be a significant factor in cost of going or cost of doing business. I don't know. Some of you all go to many more shows than I do, but I do know that we derive a revenue stream from the show we sponsor. And so far it's been postponed 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will never sign another contract for a conference that looks like the ones I signed a year ago. It was really, really hard for us to get out of our April contract. The experience in Arizona was much different than the experience in New York City. And It was really hard. So going forward, I think contracts are going to change from top to bottom for everything, really. Weddings,
1000%.
weddings, conferences, anything that could possibly be impacted. It's just going to be a different.
Well, and I would say that if they are going to do a show, they're going to pass those insurance costs on to everybody else.
Somebody's got to pay for them, right?
Exactly. It's really gonna change everything. That's
because I mean, you can sue anybody these days, and I mean, it didn't matter where you got it. If you went to that show, that's the target.
Are you going to sue me, Spence? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm just saying I'm not that type of person, really. I figure I roll the dice every day. But my point is we live in a very litigious society these days, and they're going to sue people with the biggest pockets.
Yeah, I think there's going to be the one thing that I've heard a lot of corporations and companies talk to, because they're thinking about this too, right? Like if my employees come to work and they say they got it here, are we liable for them being sick? And really, I mean, two things are really in play. So I honestly think that the way that this is going to boil down, and I'm no legal expert, Josh Strago isn't here, so throw out his name. But from what I've heard from everybody else, and from what I've gleaned from these conversations as I've sat through them, is that really the space we're in right now, because we don't know exactly what it is, this almost becomes a HIPAA situation where we have to take our best effort. Right. So as long as you can show you made your best effort, like, hey, we thought about it, we took precautions, we did the 4 or 5 things that most people are recommending you do if you get together. The point is that nobody can prove they got it anywhere. You can't prove that you got it in the street, or if you got it from your daughter, or if you got it from your house. You don't know where you got it. So if you end up with it and you were somewhere, as long as that company, event, show has done the proper things, hey, we did temperature scans, we did a questionnaire, we made sure that we had sanitizing stations at XYZ, we had public surface messages, signage, communication, and we made sure people wore PPE. If you do those things, I don't think they're going to be, I don't think courts are going to be, handing out judgments to people based on that. Just like with a HIPAA situation with medical, as long as you can show you took your best effort to protect data, if something weird happens, they're not on the line.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
that's what I've seen.
I was going to say, even on top of that, though, the real authority on it is the health department of the state you're in. Yeah. So whatever guidelines, and this is what we had to follow on our campus, whatever guidelines they put out, if you follow those guidelines, like you said, whether it be the signs for social distancing, et cetera, the PPE, but if you follow that and you make people go through those protocols, I think your liability is off, right? As long as you also have some sense of showing how you can enforce that as well. And
just
that's
because you have
what
the protocol, just because you have the protocol there doesn't mean you're good if you're not enforcing the protocol. So, and I think that's part of the reason Rutgers took the stance of just going online. It's because we could have classes that only had 25 students or 25%. So we could have done that, but it's just easier to tell people to stay home. Like, especially here in New Jersey.
And what does that do to the local economy?
He's like, yeah, we can do it. We can do it. We can put everybody online. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm speaking for the guys that handle the Zoom. I just make sure the classrooms work, It's like, so the guys that are handling the infrastructure, that's a whole nother thing. It's like, yeah, we could handle. Yeah. So
why not?
So everybody goes online in higher education. And what does that do to your local economy? Because all of our universities are part and a subset and all of these local towns. I mean, WVU is like an amoeba. We have 3 different campuses in that Morgantown area. We're right across the street in many of those situations there. And the local economy is getting whacked big.
Yeah. Well, and even beyond that, like taking USC, for example, sure, restaurants and stuff like that, but actually we're located in South Central Los Angeles. Most of our cooks in our campus, a lot of the custodial services and all that live in the general area, right? They're the ones who are really being impacted by not having anyone on campus, right? If there's no, trash to take out, there's no other thing, there's no gardening. I guess we're still kind of doing some gardening, but but those types of services really come from our local, community. And and they're the ones that are already struggling to put food on the table. So yeah, it's one thing about the area and the kind of college town suffering, but if you just think about really the ones who are suffering the most are the ones who need it the most.
You know what? Anybody check up on Austin? I mean, when South by Southwest canceled, pretty much everybody thought that Austin was going to fold. Because a lot of the businesses that are there, not only just the existing businesses, but the pop-up businesses that come with that, was a major blow to the economy. And within, last I checked, within weeks of the show canceling, the entire city came to council. And I did not see part 2 of that movie, so I can't wait to see it on Netflix, because I'm sure it's going to be a hot and heavy discussion. Because a town like Austin, though South by Southwest is just a week in time, it is a major impact, especially for the local businesses, similar to what you're getting in the college effect in the college towns. Joe, unfortunately in New Jersey, I think we have 2 college towns. Outside of that, the rest of us are fine eating pizza takeout, so we're okay.
But yeah,
as long as you're not a landlord. As long as you're not a landlord.
Yeah, commercial. Now that's, you know what, Tim, I'll table that discussion for you to have on another whole other show. You can have an entire show based on commercial real estate and the state of where commercial real estate is going with work from home and everything else that's going. We won't even go there.
We can talk about that. We can also just talk about Jersey real estate in general, and that's a whole topic of conversation.
On a positive note, people are flocking to New Jersey from New York. And I know a friend of mine who sold his house above his asking cost, because it was to a Brooklyner who does not want to live in Brooklyn anymore.
Yeah.
And they sell their little tiny whatever they have in Brooklyn, which is worth millions of dollars, and then come here and buy McMansions and little houses and knock them down and do bigger houses. So
yeah, well, that's
kind of the only good thing that's happening right now in New Jersey.
True. No, I agree with that. So.
Did you guys see the comparison of streaming services right now that was floating around online?
No,
I think I saw it.
That like Netflix is $132 a year, YouTube Red streaming service is about $120 a year, Disney Plus is about $84 a year, and Harvard streaming service is about $52,000 a year.
No wonder Facebook wants to bring back the college version of Facebook.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Joe needs his sounds in for that kind of.
Wait a minute. I can't do it. I can't do it because I had to switch microphones. Dang it.
Oh, there you go.
No.
Shucks.
I don't have
look at Joe's background. I'm dying to see a movie in a movie theater.
Hey,
man.
I like how Joe's not. I like how Joe's doing his social distancing by just facing the opposite direction of everybody in the theater.
Yeah.
So he doesn't actually get to watch the movie, but at least he gets to be in the movie theater.
You know,
he's being a real AVTweep, trying to figure out what projector they're using.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Staring through the booth at, like, is that an RGB laser projector back there?
Our theaters are open.
That's what I do whenever I go to a theme park. I always look for the AV stuff. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's in our blood.
Yeah. So, I know Corey. I think Corey wants to drop off, but I know Corey wants to talk a little bit. Yeah, this has been a great conversation. We could go all night about everything with you right now, but I think Corey wants to talk a little bit about what he's got going on with Mark. So Corey, if you're still listening, I can see you're muted. You can go ahead and unmute. Give him a second to do that. Let me see.
There he is.
There he is.
Tim, thank you very much. I did want to talk about what Mark and I are going to be doing. But I just want to say I'm listening to this conversation and loving it. One thing I loved about hosting and producing this show was the conversations that were going on. And I'm actually still the producer of the show, so I'm happy to be that. So what I wanted to talk about with Mark, and even mention a few more people and thank a few more people, that 7 years ago, this show that was groundbreaking and changed gaming, Gary Kay at Rave. I wrote for Rave. I was in the blog squad, and Mark was too. And Gary came to myself and Mark and asked us if we could do a podcast. I had no idea what a podcast was. Mark might have. But I said to Mark, what are we? What do we know? He said, well, we know tech, and I think we're funny. So that's pretty much where it left off of. a podcast called Cavalry Rides. It was Mark's baby, but he invited me in. So on International Podcast Day, Mark and I plan on doing something to talk about it and project it out to everybody. And I'm so happy to do that with Mark. Mark, I'm happy to have this opportunity to do that with you. I really am.
Yeah, no, it'll be cool. It'll be fun. I mean, the main thing was interesting back then. I think there were only a couple podcasts that were going around. I mean, Tim obviously had AV Week, and that was very popular, and it still is. And they were out there discussing in this half-hour format. And Gary had his rants and raves where he would kind of talk by himself. And we were just looking to do something a little different and try to get some more people into the conversations that maybe people hadn't traditionally heard. So I'm excited to just talk about how we did that. And, it's spun. It seems like the podcast now, I'm seeing people on Twitter complaining that there are too many AV podcasts and they can't keep up. So, at the time it was only a handful. And so I just think it opened up more avenues, and it was fun. It was fun to do. So
what was amazing about that is when you get a band for your podcast, make sure your house band isn't a heavy metal band. Because
make sure they're not a heavy metal band that has a Confederate flag in the background on one of their podcast interviews.
But then the drummer starts talking and drops a few F-bombs, and I'm sitting there as the producer going, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So it's funny, I sent an email to Sarah about it, Sarah Abrams, and I said, do me a favor, Sarah, leave the S's and take out the F's and leave the S's. And Sarah, she's so beautiful. She sends me back an email. Don't worry about it. The S's and F's are left in. And she spelled them out. And I was like, wow. This thing was let go on the air. Gary let it go. And a lot of people came at us like really hard on that, Mark. But I was proud to be a part of that and producing it. And we really did change the game, Mark, I have to say. And you're saying all these AV podcasts now? I think we helped change that game,
That's cool. I don't know. Maybe we were just early, but yeah, no, it was fun to do, Corey. I really appreciate it. So I look forward to talking a little bit more about that on the show in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Corey and I have been going back and forth with people that we're going to bring in, and the show we're going to record on September 30th. So you'll probably hear it a little later in the week. Is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So if there's one good thing that comes from our president, it's going to be huge. That's the only line I'll ever use from him.
We'll keep email to Tim or text to Tim with people's email addresses that are going to be on the show. He keeps going awesome. He can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to set up my my 70-inch screen as a board for all the pictures that are going to be on it. So I'm really excited for how that's going to turn out. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait to hear more stories and really have a really good conversation with everybody in just a couple weeks from now. So it's gonna be fun.
Well, how exciting is that? Thanks for the pre-release on
little
this
teaser,
show, right?
Yeah, a little teaser.
Awesome.
So keep an ear and eye out for that.
When Corey first started inviting me on as a guest on here, he said, if you like this podcast, you should go back and find the ones that Mark and I did, 6 years ago or whatever it was at the time. And I went back and listened to a few. And so it's kind of funny that it's coming back around. So I'm excited for you guys.
Got to go into the archives to find that,
Oh no, it didn't take me a minute. It took me like 10 minutes to find it, but it was worth it.
Well, if anyone's looking for old episodes of the AV Life and things like that, those are still hosted over on Convergent AV. You can find them over there. The newer episodes are going to be, that's why we're asking you to resubscribe, is that the newer episodes are going to be through the new channels that we have going on. It's still all the AV Life, still the same thing, but just you have to go to 2 different spots to go find it. So you need to resubscribe and do all that again, just so you guys stay on top of everything that you're hearing and seeing now. So as Corey it's interesting that Corey brings up a heavy metal band. We also want to talk a little bit about rock and roll, and we have Lee Louie with us, because of your love for music, Lee, we get you in here, and we're gonna kind of go around. We're gonna see. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Oh, Joe, Are you giving me a finger for something?
No, I'm just having fun because
Oh, okay.
Mark was
I see
having fun
Joe
and
pointing, and I'm like,
I think we're all pointing to Lee, but she's in a different position on all of our screens, so we don't know.
So, so for the crowd, it's we're going to talk a little bit just about a little bit of rock and roll, a little favorite band in general, a favorite musician within that band if you have it, bass, guitar, drums, doesn't matter. I know I put bass in the notes, but Lee, I know it's, you are a writer for Bass Gear magazine. So who do you, I guess, who is one of your muses, I guess, for music? Who do you really enjoy? Who kind of gets you going on that?
Oh, wow. My music library is so eclectic. What got me started, though, was listening to Motown music and James Jamerson playing bass.
Oh, very nice.
So my beginnings and then my roots are that type of music. And then I went into more, not so much of the Motown stuff, more into the blues.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the 12-bar blues type of thing. And yeah, so
very cool. Yeah, I'm in
evolving out.
Yeah, I'm in that same, my CD, well, what was my CD collection, so I was that guy. I had the CD book that was like 6-7 inches thick, 100 discs in it. I carried it around under the seat of my car. It ranged from Beethoven to Blues Traveler to Boston. I saw Boston up on Spence's background there for a quick second.
Yeah.
Up to Metallica, and so I cover the whole gamut, to show tunes as well. So I do a little bit of everything. Yeah, I got thumbs up from Kim, my fellow thespian in the group. So
yeah, that's why I like going to the NAMM shows, because you get to meet some of these guys. And then some of them you walk next to and you don't recognize them, and it's embarrassing. Then you turn around and you go, whoa, who was that?
Or you see them today and they look like the running gears of a katydid. They're 400 years old. And
well, there was this one time at NAMM where Stevie Wonder had walked past me, and he had a football field of guys surrounding him, and it didn't dawn on me because I couldn't see him through all the guys. And I'm like, who is this? Who is this? And then I go, oh, duh.
Yeah.
And then by then he was like way too far away. Oh, yeah, I miss trade shows.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that we live concerts like my background right now is from a Taking Back Sunday concert. My wife and I's favorite. Well, actually, it's my wife's favorite band. I've become a big fan because of us going to as many shows as we have. I was on the floor, so I was surrounded by 100 people, which that's not happening right now. But yeah, I actually almost, not music related, but I almost literally ran into Patrick Ewing once. So you want to talk about how did I miss that? I almost I turned around and almost walked square into Patrick Ewing at the airport. So that's, yeah.
So how did his belly button smell, Tim?
Well, it was more like his chest, because I'm 6'4", so I'm one of the tall people of AV, TPOAV.
Oh.
So hashtag. So yeah, it was more like almost like to his shoulder, I guess you could say. But yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, no, it was not a pretty smell there either. So
there is something though about seeing a famous person like completely out of context, where you're like, that person looks so familiar. Who are they? I was in an airport and Ben Affleck walked by, and I said to my friend, I was like, that guy's really attractive, but he looks so familiar. She was like, that was Ben Affleck.
Well, I go say we were in the studio. This has been, it's been 15 years ago probably, there at WVU, and we were doing a kind of the greatest hits type of show, and we brought in Jerry West, who was number 44 at WVU, and and I'll never forget. I'm in awe because he was great and an icon. And one of our younger cameramen was in there, and she was standing back there in the audio booth with us there, and they were doing an interview with the great Jerry West. in there, and she looked at me and she says, "Who is that old guy?" And I said, "Jerry West." She goes, "Who's he?" I said, "You ever see the NBA logo?" I said, "That's Jerry West." You know, I mean, yeah, it's like a lot of it's generational too.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, Chris, any of your favorite musicians? We'll go circle back to musicians. Any your favorite bands, musicians? What do you guys got?
I think Chris and I mean, we can identify with a lot of the stuff that's been said, I'm sure. You know, I think Chris and I share an affinity for industrial music, though, like some Nine Inch Nails and Front 242 and, you know, some of the kind of techno industrial stuff. Chris being a DJ, he was probably exposed a lot more to some of those B-sides and imports than I was. But I used to love a lot of the samples. I mean, they used to sample Slayer and Pantera and stuff in a lot of these songs, right? So you'd hear something and go, "Oh, wow, that's where that came from." You know, you'd hear the actual original song and you had never heard it before. But I used to go to Zia Records in Tempe and flip through the import section and try to find all those weird releases, B-sides, remixes, the Giorgio Moroder remixes of KMFDM or things like that, right? Like dance club music. So little different, but I've got a box full of that stuff and I can't find it on Spotify, so I can't get rid of the CDs.
So you asked about what your favorite bass player was, and I had to think about that. I'm like, man, I grew up in the, I guess, the 80s when I started paying attention to music. And I was a, you know, yes, Joe, as the back of your background is showing, I was an LA hair metal guy growing up. That was my thing from middle school up until high school. I was all about Motley Crue, Rat, Guns N' Roses, Dokken, all that sort of stuff. But if you want to take it back, growing up, I grew up in a house that is that has Spanish influence, right? And so my dad was a huge fan of Carlos Santana. So to hear that whiffing through the house at any given point was great. From a bass player perspective, I got to know and love Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy because he was a big fan of Thin Lizzy. So it was kind of, I had a mix of Spanish music and rock music. He was a Gary Moore fan. So that kind of was early. But living in where I live in the tri-state area, there's hip hop influence. So if you want to go and talk about a great bass player, you cannot talk about a great bass player without talking about Adam Yauch of the Beastie Boys. Right? So you gotta you expand that, and like what Mark was saying, you know, we have the commonality in industrial music, and part of that came from being a DJ. I started as a rock DJ in college on air, playing the Seattle sound. So anything that was the Pearl Jams and the Smashing Pumpkins and all that sort of Soundgarden was what I've been across the board. And if you want to ask me now what it is that I listen to, I as far as the new stuff, I really like, a lot of the sounds that I'm hearing now, but I got to go dig for them. Right. I went through a period of dance music with being a DJ and being a rave DJ. So let me explain. When I was into raving music before I hit 90210, and then they killed that because they went to a rave, and then the cat was out of the bag. If you don't know that episode, please wiki that. That pretty much killed.
Didn't David Silver like OD on ecstasy or something at the rave club?
Yes, it wasn't ecstasy. Yeah. It was like caffeine pills or something. It was very, very similar to the Saved by the Bell episode. If you were,
I'm so excited,
Jesse. Yeah.
So I actually got to do the rave kind of thing in Europe, going over. My friends were DJs over there, so I would bring our house music there, and they would bring their music to me. So we kind of exchanged, basically Detroit house music for the, 140 BPMs that was coming out of Ibiza early on. And I got to meet a lot of the DJs that were coming in from the UK, from the Ministry of Sound and all that. So it was really, really fun and interesting and it actually is part of the reason why I got into AV, because I wasn't really that great of a DJ. But when something went wrong, I was able to fix whatever was going wrong in the place. So I would quickly pull amps and fix amps and swap mics and do all that, and ran lights. And, it's like everybody else who comes into this industry. I got to love it doing that. So my love of that kind of, mixing up the music. And yes, the reason why I liked, went into industrial music and started listening to dance music and that whole thing is because I shared a night at a nightclub down in South Jersey that I did a college night for. And my responsibility was to start off the night with The Cure and Sisters of Mercy and some emo stuff and start moving the crowd into rock music. By the end of my set, I was completely into, as Mark said, the front 242 and 9 Inch Nails, because it started now with drum machines, and that would allow the DJ that came after me, who eventually was on Hot 97 back in the day, or 103.5, Denny Chados used to take the industrial music and the beat, and he would then mix in the dance music. My favorite part, though, of the night was we would stop. We would do some sort of guy-girl contest, and somebody would win whatever free drinks, and then they would cue me to play some rock in the middle of the night, and that's when I ended up shutting the place down 90% of the times by playing Rage Against the Machine or Smashing Pumpkins or some sort of Green Day, something that got people angry. Maybe something that caused the fight to break out and the club to close earlier than expected. And then we all took off and go to Staten Island because they had a curfew of 4. So that was my lifestyle, which thank God I pulled back out and said no. But music has been a big part of everything that I've done. So from a bass perspective, Lee, I don't know where Phil Lynott ranks from Thin Lizzy or Adam Young, but hey man, we'll see. Not what am I saying?
It's funny. It's funny you bring up.
Sorry.
It's funny you brought up Green Day, only because when I think bass, I think Longview. It's the first song that pops into my head. It's so simple, that that progression that he just repeats over and over again.
That's funny. Mine is Rocket Queen by Guns N' Roses. Anytime I hear bass, I hear the opening of Rocket Queen, which was never released as a single, which is the best freaking song on that album. But that's just my point of view.
You should listen to the bass player of Wolfpack.
Wolfpack?
Yeah.
Wolfpack, okay.
I've heard of Wolf Mother, but
no.
Wolfpack? Yeah. Wolf Mother's out of Australia.
Not Wolf. Wolf.
Wolf.
With a V.
With a V.
Wolf.
I am super impressed by everybody's taste in music. I'm
I know.
Totally pumped.
Hey, give me some Linkin Park and I'm super happy.
Well, that was going to be
the Linkin Park street team. And when you ask, because of what I do with social, a lot of the stuff that I base around is what I saw her doing back when Linkin Park was giving them CDs, and it's street team mentality. For anybody that's listening and looking for ways to do social, it's that kind of. I constantly go back to either the nightclub or to my sister doing street team stuff, or Linkin Park back in the day, that gives me the ideas of, hey, if we have a sticker, people will kind of like it, and there goes AV in the AM. That kind of mentality still works. Thanks, Lee, for running the brand. But it's kind of very grassroots, and you can apply that to digital on a daily basis now. And as long as you got something cool, man, there's a lot of crossover in how you treat social media, music, and even as a former nightclub person, Joe can attest to it because Joe has lived that life. You have a red rope, and if you are holding that rope, you have access to something that people outside want to be part of. And if you can open that and bring somebody in and tell them to bring a friend, that's social media in 2020 in a nutshell. So please, please, please put good music on in the club to at least get them through the door.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. You brought up Linkin Park, and with Mark talking about sampling of rock with hip hop and things like that. Collision Course is probably one of my favorite albums. It was Jay-Z with Linkin Park. The things they came up with as they mixed the two, it was great. The whole, it was a full album, but it was enough to, it's just awesome. And they're just great in general.
That came up on my playlist one morning as I'm trying to trudge around the track in the morning. I'll listen to something of that. Typically the older stuff. It won't be none of whatever the kids are listening to, because my daughter's into BTS. It's just another. This is like the Korean version of the New Kids on the Block.
Probably
Korean Menudo.
Korean Menudo, maybe.
I have a 10-year-old daughter who's she's now playing guitar, and she's actually like one of those naturally born musicians who could just like pick up instruments and play. But she listens to a lot of music that I listen to, and I influenced her, I think, because she's been hearing it. But
respect the classics, man.
But then I play things she's never heard before, and she goes, "Isn't this by like the Plain White T's?" And I'm like, "No, this is Nirvana. This is like, you were not even a thought in the atmosphere when this song was written."
Just tell her that all the best artists are gone. I mean, things really got weird
but
after Prince
all
died.
of the music she's
I
listening
blame everything
to,
in the world right now that's going on bizarre. It all happened after Prince died and Bowie. When those two died, everything went to hell. I don't know. You can go back.
Amen, Chris.
And
David
see
Bowie,
where
indeed.
everything got weird. And I think it has to do with those two artists going. After that, everything went bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in one more name. Les Claypool from Primus for bassist. And then, just to be cliche, can we put Flea in the basket, or is
Yes.
Of course.
okay?
Joe had him up earlier. Joe had Flea up earlier.
Oh, you did? All right, I missed the Flea.
Do you know the fun fact of Les Claypool, that he actually auditioned for Metallica after Cliff Burton died?
There we go.
Cliff Burton was the original Metallica bass player, and he died in a bus accident that they had early on during the Kill 'Em All album.
I didn't know that.
They auditioned Wes Claypool, and they said, "No, thank you."
You know what happened to me, Chris? I actually went to a local guitar repair shop in LA area, and I'm in there, and it's just me, my husband, and then the guitar guy, repair guy, and we hear the buzzer, and so the guy said, he pushes the buzzer, let the person in, you see who it is.
This must be an LA.
And he says, Les Claypool, and I'm like, oh my God. And I froze. I couldn't say a word. I was starstruck. It was such an idiot.
How can you not start singing Jerry Was a Race Car Driver?
I just
hearing his name.
Tommy the Cat.
Well, the only reason I ended up being a Primus fan is I'm such a hardcore Tom Waits fan. And then Tom Waits did Tommy the Cat, and then I was like, this song, the bass in this song is badass, and so then I became a Primus fan.
Yeah, you have to become a Primus fan.
So it's just so good. So good.
Very nice.
That's my contribution.
Electric
to the
banjo. Electric banjo. Who else has an electric banjo?
Not many people.
Right.
Not approved. Not approved.
All right.
Electric banjo is not approved in your list?
No.
When my son's a percussionist, he's a drummer, and it's funny because I remember when he was like in third grade, and they give him the choice of an instrument to play, and it's so funny because my wife comes over and she's like, "Well, Dante's looking to pick up an instrument." I said, "All right, what are we dealing with here?" And he's like, "Dad, I think I want to play the flute." I said, "You wait 1 second."
You shut your dirty mouth.
I said, "You stop right there. I'll be right back." I went downstairs. I brought my laptop upstairs, and I said, "Dante, I need 5 minutes of your time. I have 2 videos queued. I want to show you what a flute player is, and then I want you to decide." So I bring up Jethro Tull, and here's a guy in a sporting suit with a leg up doing his thing. And then the next clip I bring up is Will Ferrell in a leisure suit with a flaming flute. I said, "That's flute," and then I play Motley Crue's Wild Side with Tommy Lee on a roller coaster drum set, and everything changes. My son has been a percussionist ever since. And the funny thing is I'm like, "Dante, remember when I showed you a rotating," he goes, "Dad, that's why I played drums." I'm like, "That is Tommy Lee." He goes, "Yeah, that guy's kind of strange." I'm like, "But in his prime, there was nobody doing that kind of theatrical stuff. If it was,
Don't ask any other questions.
Yeah, that's it. And the funny thing is that he's now suing some people that are using some of his like he patented that those drum things, I guess would say. A few months ago in January, I had the opportunity to go and meet Deadmau5 in Philly, and I got a backstage tour. And what's important about Deadmau5, and Deadmau5 is a DJ for those that are listening and don't know who he is. He's got a big LED mouse on his head with big ears and stuff like that, and LEDs and blah, blah, blah. He creates and he works, and how I'm going to bring this back to an AV conversation. He built and created what he's called the Cube. There's been 3 or 4 versions of the Cube. So we got to go backstage and see what the Cube is. No, it's none of those weird sci-fi movies. I'm sure that's what people are thinking. I think Jennifer Lopez may have been stuck in one at one point. Very odd. Don't IMDb that. It can get really weird real quick. But anyway, he has this thing called the Cube, and it's a kind of like a 3-sided LED box that he's in. The first one was he was behind it, and it was transparent LEDs, and he would come through. When they shut the lights off, they put lights behind them so you would see a silhouette. The new one, he kind of sits up top, but this thing is a monster, and it tilts forward to reveal. It spins around. Really cool stuff. He built that, his first version of it. He went out to Pennsylvania and built it with some really cool people over at Tate Towers. And then when he did that stuff with Tate, he then said, you know what, I can do it. What's cool about some of these DJ producers now, and they don't want to be called DJs, to be honest with you. They rather be called producers, is that he takes the ownership of it into his own hands. So he designed the new version of it and had it built with his own outsourced team. He actually went out to the Far East because I can't tell what country I guess he was at. He picked out the LEDs that were specific for this type of application he was looking for, that were going to be bright enough, because I asked what brand is it, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you, but I went out and I bought a lot of them. So he owns that in the design. So to think that some of these guys are just regular Joes, no offense, Joe, they're just regular guys spinning music. No, these guys have elevated it. There's a showmanship to it, and there's a whole production behind what a DJ is today. Again, more reason why I am not in that business anymore, and I was not that good to begin with, and I am definitely not as skilled as some of these guys are now. With the production and the ability to not only create music, but to build an entire show production based around that sort of stuff. So that's it.
All right. Well, that I was gonna say, it sounds like we've got tons of good stories about music and where we could be, but I think we are at that point in the. And I think Corey actually might have something. Is Corey, you still with us?
I'm here.
You said you had something to chime in on this.
Names dropped too. I'm hearing some great names being dropped here. First of all, Lee, I've got to say you're one of the best guests we've ever had because you brought such great conversation to this. You review my favorite instrument. We communicated about this. People who know me know I'm really heavy metal progressive, and my favorite band fits in that category. But I want to bring up a bassist who was one of the greatest. Chris Squire of Yes was one of the greatest bassists that ever lived. Phil Lynott here tonight, I've heard. You can't talk about bassists without him. But I'm going to say my band is Rush, and that's Geddy Lee.
Yeah.
When you talk about you also have to talk about the professor, Neil Peart, who's also from January, unfortunately. But when you talk drummers, and I'm hearing Tommy Lee, you can't leave Neil Peart out. He was the greatest drummer to ever live. So I'm so happy about the conversation tonight. Lee, thank you. You got to follow Lee at Bluesy Lee on Twitter. Right, Lee? I got that right?
Yes.
Let me say something, because I haven't been able to publicly express my affection for Lee, and I'm going to do it and embarrass her right now.
Oh boy.
But Lee's somebody who lives in my local area who has always been very supportive online. For some reason, we haven't met in person yet. But I was messing around one night, throwing chords out on a guitar and some lyrics to my kids. And Lee was nice enough to take what I had thrown out, sample it, throw some bass into it, record it, send it back to me. And so just a really cool person who makes real world connections. And I really appreciated that, Lee.
Oh.
Well, if we're going to have Lee Appreciation Day or Lee Appreciation Night, Lee has been a staunch supporter of anything that I've been pumping out lately, and I am truly blessed to have somebody who is a supporter of some of the crazy crap that I do. Is that okay to say? Do we have to bleep that out? I think crap's okay, right?
Yeah, you're okay. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that, Lee. Obviously, you with the rise of the opinion shirt and stuff like that. I am.
This is my favorite shirt.
It's one of my favorite shirts. There's new ones coming out. I'm sure you'll like the new ones that are on the agenda to come. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Mark. I did enjoy taking your song and adding something to it. And it is available on my SoundCloud if anybody wants to go find me.
Nice.
Lee, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I try and fill in some stuff. But, you know, I didn't get into my background as I was in AV. So I wasn't always a music only person. I started at Stewart Film Screen. So in quality,
Nice.
keeping their quality up, making sure the screens were looking good and shipping
Quality's-
out right.
Yep.
But this year I got an opportunity to jump ship, go somewhere really fantastic. And so I left the AV community, but I still have my AV enthusiast roots in me. So
Yeah, you can
But you
never
can't-
leave those.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you really can't leave us
You
like
can
that.
run, but you
so-
can't hide, Lee. We'll
Yeah,
just keep
exactly.
finding you.
Always
That's
one thing.
awesome.
And then I write for Bass Gear magazine. I do about maybe one review a year. There's a team of us, so everything gets spread out.
Hey, Lee, thank you very much for being on tonight. I appreciate it. Chris,
Thank
good
you.
talking to you, buddy. And Mark, I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
We
Thank
love you,
guys.
Corey.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
See you, Corey.
Did you guys all see my wine glass?
That's
That is
cool.
an
Oh,
awesome-
look at
I
that.
never use it because it's blingy and I'm afraid it. And I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about music. I'm going to have to get my
That is
keyboard.
so
I wore
awesome,
music-based T-shirt. No, that
Oh,
doesn't.
it was down
I
too
love it.
low. Love
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry. I'm representing
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mark,
little
tell
Biggie
us what
here.
your shirt means.
No,
Um,
Mark. This is
my
a
shirt-
shirt show.
This is my CTS shirt that I made specially for being dual certified, and it's my CTS audio frequency shirt.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
Yes,
Oh.
exactly.
AF.
Right.
No, wait, I was going to wear my Infocom 2020 shirts. I was, because nobody has those, but I have two of them.
Oh,
Wow.
geez.
You
That's awesome.
do?
I
Wow, that's like a
do.
collector's item.
That's like the
They're worth-
Super Bowl champion hats that always are made losing team that never
Well,
get
what-
like distributed out,
Those get
right?
sent over to like Zimbabwe.
What
Yeah.
happened? I wanted an
There is a
Infocom
home for those
shirt.
shirts.
I wanted an Infocom shirt, and there was a particular one I was looking for, and it was one that I saw Mark wearing, I think, last year at the show. So I asked Vegeta to hook me up with someone that she knows at Avixa, and
That's cool.
they didn't have any more. So they sent me these two shirts that hadn't even been released yet for
Collector's
this year.
items.
Yeah.
Listen, they'll be worth more if you get a Dave LaBusca's autograph on them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The ISA
CEO
the
signature,
ISE
man, that'd be
Winter
sweet.
2021 shirt is going to be in high demand.
I bet.
All right. I think we've reached that point. I think we can manage to squeeze in our regular weekly event. Kim, you want to clue us in on it or cue us in on it?
Is this
I think
the
it's-
firing range?
Yeah, I think it's time for the firing.
Yes.
I know we talked about this a little bit already. I didn't expect the conversation to go in the direction it did today. So I had
That's what you
planned
get for
us-
being the guy in charge.
Yeah, I
Hashtag
know.
sorry.
Geez, yeah.
So that
That's
means
okay.
all arguments have to be like 15 seconds or less. You got to do
Yeah.
best points, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start keeping a timer. I'm gonna share my screen and keep a timer going, and we're just gonna stop it. It's like, nope, no more. You're done. We're gonna. I decided we keep it real simple. We'll keep with the music. We'll keep just a for or against. Are we ready for live performances? And I know West Coast,
Yes.
East Coast. We're gonna. Okay, well, here's what's gonna happen, Lee. We're gonna divide into two teams. I'm gonna be captain, and Kim will be captain because that's usually the way it works out. So we're gonna pick teams. Don't worry if you're the last pick. It's not like dodgeball. So we'll
Totally like dodgeball.
and we'll Kim, I'll give you the choice. You could pick first if you'd like.
Okay, so I am going to go. I'm gonna grab Lee.
Okay.
Lee's on my team.
Are you gonna take? Or actually, do you want to just pick your team, or do you want me to
Oh,
go?
I get to Wow, then you really get screwed. Okay.
Oh, you know what? No,
Wow.
I forget. I changed.
Wow,
Never mind.
okay.
No.
Reverse.
The reverse.
So obviously there are 3 people here that Kim does not think very highly of.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what? I'm taking Chris.
All right. I am gonna go with Spence.
Okay.
I gotta remember now who I picked.
You can drag them around. Put them in a
I'm
order.
gonna take.
idea.
I'm gonna take Joe because then I don't have to drag him anywhere.
Oh, okay. I can't drag. I'm not updated. And I'm gonna take
What a
Renee.
drag.
And I got Mark, so that works out because I got like
Last
a
again.
7
Last
between
again.
us. So.
So are you for concerts or against concerts, Tim?
Oh. You know, because I'm in Jersey and because of the time, no, I'm against it.
Oh, I'm so for it. Go team. All right. Tim, you go first.
All right, well, I'm gonna let
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
gonna
we're
let
gonna
my
beat
fellow
you.
Jerseyan lead me off on this. Go ahead, Chris. Why are we against having concerts here in New Jersey right now? Or are we ready? Or are we
You
not
probably
ready
should've let
for
him
concerts?
Finish.
I'll finish, dude. You don't want me to go first.
Yeah.
All
You want him to
right,
finish.
Joe, go ahead.
Okay, let me tell you why we are against live performances and live events. Grandma, do you really
cut
want?
me a
Do
break.
you,
Oh.
do you
Not all
really?
the grandma.
Pushing
I'm
grandma
on my
over the
microphone.
cliff.
No.
Do you really want to have these kids go? You think they're going to stand on the red circle that says 6 feet away and stay there? No, they're going to go. They're going to come together. They're going to share COVID. They're going to go back to grandma, and they're going to kill grandma. And if you want grandma dead, then fine, have an event. If you want grandma live, no events.
I don't know what to say.
Uh,
You know,
I
to
was just going to say,
Nothing to
well,
say.
shit, there goes the show.
Grandma.
And would you like to do like 1 and 1, or do you want to go all at once? And then have
You know
us
what?
No,
I
we
think in
gotta
this
do
case, we need to do 1 and 1. So,
1 and 1. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
who's gonna follow dead grandma?
I will.
All right. I was
Musicians-
gonna make
musicians
Lee
need money.
close.
Musicians need to be performing. That's what supports them. They're not earning anything off of royalties, especially the streaming too. They're struggling. Musicians need to be performing. People need to wear masks.
That was
That's
legit.
the first wear a mask. That's the first wear a mask plea on this entire show. I'm shocked we went this far without a wear a mask
Yeah.
conversation yet.
Hey, I mentioned furries and fluffies. I said something
that's
about
true.
wearing
He
That
did
is
say
true.
they
Pass.
do wear
Mark
masks.
did.
Dude, there's still people Googling what that is.
I'm never Googling that.
There's so many
No.
people
Ever.
signing
Oh.
up for Comic-Con right now so they can learn what a
I know.
brony is.
I'm trusting what my mind is telling me. I'm never Googling that.
I'm sure I'm sure you can find it probably on some weird after hour show too.
Yeah,
Don't worry, we'll send you lots of stuff. You don't have to Google anything.
It's all on its way already, Renee. All right, who's next?
Tim.
I'm gonna put Mark up next because I'm still working on my next statement. So
Joe killed grandma, so we got to work on this.
yeah, how do we
now,
go?
now Lee said musicians need to perform, and I would agree with that. And I would think for way too long, musicians have been forced to perform like animals, like circus animals, to make money. When their IP is out there, and people are streaming it for free, right? And so not only do musicians need to perform, but this is the perfect opportunity for musicians to unite and renegotiate these crappy contracts that they have on their records, on their Spotify. I mean, if they're going to do Tidal Audio and Oculus, somebody needs to get paid for that, right? And I think we should boycott concerts just to give them the bargaining rights for digital media. There's my argument.
Mark may have just owned every firing range ever.
I was just going to say,
That was
pull up.
I didn't know.
We're going down in flames, folks.
Yeah, we are.
that was great. All right, who's from my team wants to go next?
Hold on. I have to regroup. Okay, now come on. Now we have all seen events virtually where the bands are streaming and there's still social distance, Those people need to make money. The vendors need to make money. The people need their music. These people are losing their minds in the world, right? Music is therapy for a lot of people. Well, at least it is for me. So we've already seen in New York City where the people were all spaced out with the live events. There are ways to make this happen where the artists are making money. The concessions are bringing people back to work and making money. You're bringing people out of their depressions, right? And making people happy. I don't even know why there would be a discussion about this. Now, if you went to a concert, maybe you should say, I don't go see grandma for 14 days because in case I got something at the concert, I don't want to kill grandma. But we have to bring live events back. Mic drop, done.
Well, you know, I'm going to go the herd immunity route. You know, I mean, hey, you know, how are we ever going to build it up there if we don't? We may have to thin the herd, but you know, hey, we'll go with herd immunity on this. And hey, grandma probably had it coming anyway. Who knows?
Well, you know what? Let's save grandma. Let's wait for a vaccine. Let's wait for a known treatment, because I'm just going from here now because it's my turn to talk. So we are not ready for this right now. You know what?
Ooh.
You know what? Papa Roach did a concert. They charged people to watch online. They probably got a good payday out of it because I'm sure there were tons of people. Have the technology for the online streaming to happen. And damn it, Joe. When you all come back and watch the video on this, you'll understand why I just stopped
I think maybe we might have to kill the video for this show. No
Well,
pun
no,
intended.
I think
I've already
we
clued
better
everybody in.
we
So
better
now they
trim
know
out the firing line. This may
always
never
sense.
see the light of day.
What else?
I know nothing about editing for these.
Just
podcasts.
don't go see grandma. Like, I haven't seen my mom and dad since March.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See,
sad, but that's
Tim,
what I'm saying. We
this
go to
was
the
a
live
great
events and don't go see
question.
grandma.
What a question, Tim.
I was gonna say, I don't think we've had one that's been this like heated in a while. At least I
Oh,
don't.
who knew that Joe was going to pull that out?
I think
Yeah, I
I
know.
think I can.
I mean, we
can-
should have guessed, but
I think I can bridge the gap maybe between both sides. Like when
No,
the
you won't,
Ti-
because I'm going to blow that bridge up as soon as you
when the Titanic.
Yeah, don't forget, I still got Chris.
So when the Titanic sank, the band kept playing. It's just that everyone else was on life rafts. So there was still a live concert happening. It's just that everyone else was escaping into the open seas. So maybe we should have concerts. It's just that no one should go.
But you know who didn't survive? Jack.
You're
because
right.
Rose let him slide into the water, even though there was room on that door.
maybe if he had a mask.
She likes to sleep spread eagle.
There is a drive-in concert venue called the Tupelo Music Hall, I think it is. Go look it up online. And they are doing drive-in live concerts.
That's
Actually, my buddy Aaron Lewis, I don't know if y'all know him from Stained, but he is getting ready to do a venue to venue all over the country in drive-ins, and he's coming to some little drive-in that has been dead for 20 years that I've lived here. And I'm like, what? I'm buying tickets to a drive-in that has been closed for 15 years, but I bought tickets. I'll be there. I'll be in the car.
I live right by an actual, still functional drive-in movie theater, Warwick Theater, right in New York.
Yay, Warwick! Hey Tim, we should double date to Warwick.
We could do that.
We could shout at
Double
each other
family
from
date,
like 12 feet away.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Our kids
I'll just
in the
wave to
car.
you.
Tim, we got to tag in our man Chris because
I
don't want to lose this. We're like the dirty dozen. Chris has got the explosives on the bridge and he's about to press the lever down.
Yeah.
You want to know what I don't want?
I love Chris, but FY is you're going down, Chris. Come on.
No, it's not. You know why? Because this is my Dennis Leary style rant. So get ready, because I do not want to pay $20 for a freaking soggy hot dog and a beer that's this big. That's why concerts are not going to happen. The other part to that you have to keep in mind is that I enjoy listening to music in my car. Please, please, drive-in, absolutely. My 67 Malibu sounds great listening through 2 broken paper woofer things out of the front dash. It's awesome. Please, I want more drive-ins because I can deal with that. It's bass farts coming out of my dash. Love it. The other thing I want is to buy a $250 ticket to go see Pearl Jam and have to wait 5 months for that ticket to come back because it was canceled. That's what I enjoy about music. What else do I enjoy? I love Ticketmaster, right? So I miss Ticketmaster. You guys can hold on to Ticketmaster a little longer because, wow, you know, Ticketmaster just doesn't make enough off of me and my friends. So, you know, I could go to the bands and I could go to the bars. I could go to the Stone Pony and say, hey, dude, you got a cool venue with a name. How about you guys stream live, bands that come there and stream it out? It's a concept. I don't know, but this webinar thing may just, you know, pick up. And if you're not in Jersey, you know, obviously in LA, you know, I would love to go see, you know, a concert at one of those bars and stuff like that. But God, you know, 250 people smushed into a space that only needs one, like that can fit 4. I don't know. I don't know if you can do this. I miss the sweat. I miss the tears. I miss the bad cologne at some of the Jersey nightclubs. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to bring concerts back anytime sooner. I am a big fan of keeping the Drakkar Noir back in its closet for those who survived in the 1980s. And those of you that are sitting here know what I am talking about. You have survived Drakkar. You can survive Corona. That's all I'm saying. Please, for the love of God and for the love of Pete, whoever Pete is, keep your Drakkar Noir in your medicine cabinet and away from your children. We survived that. I think we can deal with the whole thing. And for those that use Joop, I am sorry. It's pronounced Yope. It wasn't pronounced Joop. Now, what else, Tim, should we talk about? Should we talk about, you know, I went to go see a band like Cake outdoors, and guess what? My feet hurt. I don't want to be out in standing up to watch a concert. I love laying back in my chair. I just love laying back in my chair. And poor grandma. Imagine grandma that lives next door to the Staples Center that can't go to sleep because Metallica's playing. What's wrong with you people? Do you not know about noise ordinances? Seriously now. Can we all just come together and say concerts are bad? We can blame it on the Russians for those that want to kind of like find somebody to pick on. And it seems like all news channels like to do that. So we can wrap that in. And you know what? If we hang out long enough, Godzilla and Bigfoot will come out and completely end everything. And to end this conversation on a good note or on a high note, the reasons why we are not going to continue to have concerts, 2 words for you people. That's all I have to say. Murder hornets. That's it.
We're coming.
That's
They're
it.
coming.
And we're done.
There is no concerts going on from this point forward. Enjoy your night.
Okay,
Wow.
I'm succeeding to the murder hornets.
Yeah, we went to murder hornets. That's the end of it. We're
I feel like I got to go spray myself off now.
I think this was an
want to
easy
Dirty
win.
Water Dog and tell me that it is a, you know, that's what we need concerts for, because I have some flat beer and Dirty Water Dog somewhere in my house that I could probably pull out.
I learned my lesson. Pick Chris.
As a crew member, I'm
Yeah.
saying Chris is never invited when he can stay long enough for the firing range.
Nope.
well, in all seriousness.
But is he any good at dodgeball?
No. Suck at dodgeball. I don't have the reflexes of a cat. More of like a kind of a sloth.
Like a grandma.
Like a grandma.
Okay, when we can get together at Infocom, we're doing a dodgeball game.
Yeah, me and grandma would not make it through dodgeball, so I apologize.
Oh.
All right. Well, in all seriousness, though, I mean, I think yes, we do need live. I think we do really need live concerts.
So do I.
I think we need, and it is because we need people to get back to work, but we also need to do it safely that we don't kill grandma. So it's so I'm of the I could go both ways with this. You know, we don't need to kill grandma, but we do need to get people back to work.
Joe.
So
I just don't want Joe running Ticketmaster.
Or his own background.
Ticketmaster needs to still out on those fees, and you know, I don't want to spend $25 for a ticket and then $25 more to pay fees to get the ticket. And then spend $25 on a beer that's the size of a shot glass.
Yes.
So,
well, you're going to have to, because all the money everybody lost, that we're going to have to charge all that to get back in.
Right.
Well, thank you. It's hard to argue for concerts when, you know, you miss that. You miss, like Kim said, going to a movie theater. And you miss that experience. And I think that we, you know, oh God, I don't know if it's siding with the you know, the marketing propaganda that has been going through our industry, but we do miss experiential to a point. You know, experiences is what we need. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that we are lacking in that. We're missing the connections and stuff like that. But fortunately, we do work in technology, and it allows us all together in this kind of thing right now. And fortunately for Renee, the wine bottle service is still intact. So please keep the post office going, because that would be a problem. The postal service is absolutely necessary. I cannot buy more crap on, can I say crap again? Yes, I can. On Amazon.
Yes.
A lot of needless crap sent to my house. So thank God. You know what, Joe? Thank you, sir.
Operation Save Grandma. That's what we're all after.
Oh my God, this was a blast, y'all. I had so much fun.
Yes, thank you so much, Lee. Thank you so much for. I think you came in the clutch there in the end.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. We kind of like let you. We kind of took off out of the gate. And
oh my God, I got to get this picture. Hold on.
So
I'm
thank
sending this to Joe's show.
Subscribe to me, Bluesy Lee, on Twitter, and at Base Gear Magazine, or at Base Gear Mag. Look us up.
I just followed you on Twitter.
There you go.
I did too.
Sorry I didn't know you before, but I had such a blast getting to know you tonight. And thanks for being a part of our show.
Yeah,
thanks for putting up with us.
Thanks to Mark. He had the.
No, I'm used to it. I'm just used to it in Twitter feed.
I also want to say thank you to Mark. He had to drop off before he finished the firing range and fired himself out of the call as well. Apparently,
he's got like a family to take care of or something.
Yeah, you know, something like that. Hey, my kid's asleep. That's why I put it this late at night, so I don't have to worry about it. Chris, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. You can find me on Twitter at Chris_Neto. On Sundays, you can find me doing the chat that Lee and Mark and a lot of you guys have all participated in with AV in the AM. That is on Sunday mornings. That's something I run kind of on my own. During the week, I do work for a AV integrator distribution company. So I work with integrators for a company called Starin, and you can find us at starin.biz. That is where I do my Mondays through Fridays. Weekends are for AV in the AM, and Sundays are for AV. So
thank you, Chris, for doing that. I have so much fun. Sometimes I don't respond to everyone, but I just I love seeing everybody get together, and I love seeing all the responses.
You can respond for me. I can't respond either, unfortunately.
Hey,
a lot of the times it's just a lot of retweeting and liking and conversations going, but it's been a whirlwind. It's been fun. It's built the community up of people that are using it as a resource to know things. I get yelled at. I don't hit home runs every week with my questions, but at least the conversations are happening on Sundays, and that's what's important. I did get a weekend off, and thank you, Joe, for pulling off an AV in the AM rogue kind of thing, and it went off really well. It had an amazing amount of participation and tweets, which I didn't have nothing to do with or be a part of. I got to sit back and watch my phone buzz off my my dresser at 6 o'clock in the morning with an Irish guy who decided to not know that 8 a.m. East Coast time is not 8 a.m. his time. So all of a sudden my phone exploded, and the rest of the Sunday I had to keep it on charge. You know
what it is? It's just invaluable networking.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it. Do you know I was in the Dallas airport when there was like 7 people in the whole airport, because I've been traveling every month to see my kids, and I had my AV in the AM shirt on, and a customer from Conference Technologies stopped me in the airport. Like, oh, do you do that thing? Then I was like, who do you work for? Who do you work for? And it was
Renee,
like, holy cow.
The biggest thing with not having an Infocom show for me personally, this is like my own vanity metric that I was looking forward to, is this would have been the first year that I would have walked in and saw people wearing swag. And I know that there are people that I don't know who have bought swag, and the same goes for Joe. There would be somebody walking by wearing a higher ed shirt that you have no idea on that site and purchased some swag, and it would have been a rock star moment because I would have went over and tried to take a selfie with somebody just because they're wearing a cool t-shirt. I don't have to tell them who I am, but it would be that I lost that moment. So now I'm looking forward to the possible show and that would be my only, that was the cool thing that I was looking forward to. Like the kid inside you was like, wow, maybe somebody will be wearing a shirt. Maybe somebody will see that I have a shirt on, and that's kind of like the cool part about it when you have something like this. But it's none of that is possible without the people, and people like Lee and Joe who wear these shirts, and I see them and you wear the shirts, and I grab the picture and throw it onto our Instagram and build out on that. And it's not me. It's not about me. It's about everything else that's around it and the topics and the conversations. Obviously, for Kim and for Spence, I do a digital signage thing once a year where I sit down and bring in the guys that are heading over here from the Daily Doe, and they do digital signage week. So I focus a weekend on digital signage, and I want to do it justice because it's not my language. It's not my everyday language to speak. So I'm constantly looking for people to submit and provide questions and stuff. And I will throw the theme and the topic together and let them ride with it. And, I absolutely love the takeovers when they happen. I've allowed people, it's just a lot of work to saddle somebody with the amount of stuff that I have to do on a Sunday morning is I don't wish that on anybody. For the people that do want to take it over in large groups, absolutely. I would absolutely, honor that, but it is a lot of work, and to see that everybody is enjoying it, that's awesome. So I went on way too much.
I know I said this last week on the show, but for those who might not listen every week, I think that for me, just seeing something that familiarizes me with this is the way it was, and this is the world that we had.
It's hope.
And to sit in your house and be kind of like my husband's at an event tonight, so I'm just here by myself and be kind of lonely. I work all day, I and here all night, and it's like it's kind of nice to have friends in the industry where you can go, remember when. And it may be sad because it may be 2022 before we all do this again, right? And be in person, right? But I put that selfie on. I was hungover as crap, and I put the ball cap on and the shirt on. I'm like, I don't even really care. It's about more than that, right? And so what you can bring back to any sort, or Joe with his podcast, Tim, thank you so much for taking over Corey's spot. I could cry when I think about it because this brings a little bit of, these are my people, this is normal back to me. And even though I'm more open than some of y'all are in your areas, I still miss my AV people. And I have customers that it's like, well, this is working out virtually. Let's just do this. And I'm thinking this may be it forever with this particular office in Wichita, Kansas, right? It may be like this forever. So, and the new normal of, I may be doing these virtual meetings and losing my voice every day because I was on 8 hours of meetings today. But I feel like you guys have brought us, you've brought us back to a sense of this is kind of our heart. This is what we know. And I want you and Joe and Tim and of course Corey to know that I'm a part of this and I appreciate it. The people that are watching but not participating, they appreciate it. So I hope you guys know from the bottom of our hearts that we really do appreciate that from a good place.
I appreciate that. And the more conversations we have like this online, the better it is. I think you are a better presenter now than you were 2 years ago or a year ago or 6 months ago, because you were already built for the online. Like when everybody was struggling to figure out how to get in front of a camera and turn it on, you're already doing that here. And so is everybody here who has participated in podcasts and digital media and stuff in the past. It was not hard for us to turn on a camera and show the world what we can do. Like when this hit, I turned to my wife and I'm like, my God, we're not going to be doing any of these trade shows anymore. None of these conversations going forward. And she's like, Chris, you live online. Like, you know what, Robin, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe I was better prepared, but it didn't stop me from, upgrading my camera, upgrading my microphone, maybe getting, a little bit more particular about my backgrounds. But that's the difference between somebody who has been doing this for a while and preparing, I guess, without knowing. We've been kind of preparing and schooling for something like this. And this is our time to shine. Joe took the ball and ran at USC with what he knew about conferencing in a world that was probably all broadcast prior to that. And the conversations of UC were just something that was just hearsay. And it was just something as a matter of fact. So here we are in 2020, and, AV is carrying a torch. And I hate to hear that AV can't help a lot of different businesses, because I think they can. I think we add a certain amount of wow to events. I think we add a certain amount of ambiance. If you want to even add, background music to restaurants, as stupid as that may seem, that is AV. Digital signage is telling people where to go, and queuing is at an all-time high, right? There is a place for what we do. Churches and house of worship are changing how they hold mass and how they handle large crowds, taking it outside, taking it to drive-in theaters. It's pushing people. The one thing that is going to come out of COVID, and my advice to anybody who may be listening, is to take a notepad and jot down every crazy idea you've had during this time. Because for one thing is a fact, you will never be under this kind of pressure ever again to perform, to create, and to be as spontaneous as possible. So take that time and look back at some of the crazy ideas you had. You may have just came across with a business saving idea later on, or a marketing idea that nobody thought of, because back 6 months ago, it was not great. It was way too crazy. That's not our business. Right now, throwing spaghetti at the wall they're throwing the whole pot at the wall at this point.
Right.
There is nothing like that. So and if there's anything that anybody wants to walk away from here, if there's one thing that I can share is, keep those notes. We are under the pressure. We're going to turn into diamonds, man. That's the way it works. Diamonds don't form just by loose, not having the pressure. So you're going to see some gems come out of this. Unfortunately, until that coast is clear, speaking as somebody who is on the coast, and obviously it's not clear, I think there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel at some point. It's just going to be, we have to weather this storm, and we're going to come out of it bigger, better, stronger. And I think a lot of the branches on the tree that needed to break off or needed to be pruned are going to be pruned, and it's going to make the whole root system much healthier. So.
Oh my God, Chris.
Well said, Chris. Thank you. So the wisdom didn't stay at home. It didn't stay behind. You brought it with you. So
it was in the bottom of my Coke Zero.
That last little bit of caffeine. Yeah.
That's awesome, Chris. And that's so true. I think that's an excellent kind of wrap up for the show. And I think that I hope that everybody listens to this, because that's so true, because we have so much to learn and we had to do it really quickly, but I don't think it's going away anytime soon, especially for a lot of us. So hate to use all the buzzwords, but the faster we pivot and adapt,
yes, you did.
The more we can.
You're done with that. You can't use another buzzword again.
It is what it is, right?
God, come on. Another one.
All right.
That's it. I'm hitting mute now.
Yeah, that's okay. Renee, you're doing great there. I didn't want to stop you. You were going great. This is all great conversations. This is just a preview of how great we're gonna have things going forward here in the AV Life. We're gonna have great guests. We have our great crew, and maybe if I need to alleviate some hosting duties to Renee, I could do that in the future. So, now you're cowering at that. Joey, thank you very much for your leadership and, for not killing grandma. Yeah.
Of course. My pleasure. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to what the future holds. And you can find me at Josiah Way on all social media.
Yeah. Spence, thank you as always.
Well, it's always good being with you all. I enjoyed meeting Lee and seeing Chris. I hadn't seen Chris in a long time, and it's always good being with everybody. You can find me at WVUSWG on Twitter. So good being with everybody, and hope to see everybody next time.
Renee, thank you very much. You definitely sparked conversation in here, so you're fine. Don't worry.
Okay. I forget that now people are going to be able to see this, right? All my faces are like, oh.
That's okay. Don't
I
worry.
think it was all stuff that we're all thinking. It's all stuff that we need to talk about, and I'm just so happy to be a part of such a great group of people. And thank you, Lee, for being on, and Joe, always thank you for being a part of it. You can leave out Grandma, but anyway, thank you for being a part of our group. Thank you for having me, Tim, and thank you, Corey. And you can
I don't
find
think
me
we ever killed anybody before until
well,
tonight.
I didn't think so,
yes.
but I think we should sign off before we admit to anything. You can find me at NEC Display Renee on all the social media platforms, and I will see you next time on the AV Life. Thank you for everybody for being here, and thank you for Tim for hosting.
Yeah, no problem. Kim, thank you very much. Glad to have you back. Missed you last week.
So glad to be back. Thank you, Corey, for the kind words. Thank you, Tim, for running this. Thank you, my friends. Lee, it was great to meet you. Thank you, Chris, for joining. My views are my own, but I can be found on Twitter at Kim, which is KYM. So at Kim Frank on Twitter.
All right. Thank you, Corey. I see you're connected. Are you still with us back there? Okay. Thank you, Corey. I think he may have cut off there, but we'll be back in a week. More guests, more show, more fun, more firing range. So yes, exactly. More pew pew. It's good having that. Mara did good last week, but nothing beats you, Kim. So thank you. And until our next adventure.
Very good.